Neural control and coordination. Nervous tissue is divided into two parts, neuron and neuroglia cells. Neuron, excitable, conduction, structural and functional unit. Neuroglia cell, non-excitable, support and packaging of neuron. Axon is a myelinated neuron and unmyelinated neuron. Myelinated neuron is most commonly found in central nervous system. Node of Ranvier is present in myelinated neurons, and myelinated sheath is made up of lipids. Central nervous system axon, peripheral nervous system axon. Central nervous system axon by oligodendrocytes and peripheral nervous system axon by Schwann cells. Nervous system is divided into two, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system contains two branches, brain and spinal cord, whereas peripheral nervous system contains nerve fibers, axon. It is two types, efferent sensory neuron, efferent motor neuron. Efferent means efferent neurons are the neurons which carry information from sensory organs to the central nervous system, whereas efferent or motor neurons are those neurons which carry information from the central nervous system to the effector organ. And the efferent motor neuron is divided peripheral nervous system is divided into two parts, somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Somatic nervous system carrying information to the voluntary parts, whereas autonomic nervous system carrying information to involuntary part. Voluntary means the parts which we can control, and involuntary the parts which we cannot control. Example of voluntary skeletal muscle, and example of autonomic central nervous system is smooth muscles. Autonomic central nervous system is divided into further two parts, sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is emergency situations, active in emergency situation, whereas parasympathetic is a rest or normal. Types of neurons. Neurons are divided on the basis of their axon and dendrites into five types. Unipolar neurons means single neurons, single polar neurons. It is found in embryonic life. Bipolar matlab two neurons. Retina of eye, olfactory epithelium are the example of bipolar neurons. Multipolar neurons. Example of multipolar neurons are cerebral cortex, brain. Most of the neurons are the multipolar neurons. Apolar only cell body is present. Example is hydra, and pseudo unipolar or polar neurons are the found in the dorsal root of ganglion of spinal cord. Generation of nerve impulse. RMP polarized, presence of more negatively charged protein in exoplasma. Sodium and potassium leaky channels work passively, means they do not require any energy. Potassium leaky channels are more in number than the sodium leaky channels. Sodium and potassium active pump use 1 ATP to throw 3 sodium outside and 2 potassium inside. And the polarized state minimum minus 70 millivolt, and sodium voltage gate channel opens due to threshold stimulus, rapid influx of sodium ions. Depolarized state plus 30 millivolt. As the 30 millivolt achieved, sodium voltage gate channel close and potassium voltage gate channel open, and potassium goes outside. Repolarized state minus 70 millivolt. Potassium voltage gate channel takes longer to close, more potassium goes out. Hyperpolarized minus 90 millivolt. Again RMP minus 70 achieved by potassium and sodium active pump. Action potential impulse. As the threshold stimulus given the opening sodium voltage gated channel cause change rise in potential up to 30 millivolt. Plexus means network. Remember that. Conduction of nerve impulse in unmyelinated neurons. The change in potential across A act as a stimulus for the nearest B. Current flow in the unmyelinated neuron inside is from A to B and outside is B to A. Jumping conduction and solitary conduction in myelinated neuron occurs only across node of Ranvier to node of Ranvier. In myelinated neuron, insulation free conduction not possible. Faster conduction. Synapses. Synapses is the junction between the two neurons. Synapses contains presynaptic membrane, synaptic cleft, and postsynaptic membrane. As we see the NCRT diagram, there is a receptors of neurotransmitter, synaptic vesicles, or dendrites, neuron 1 and neuron 2, and types of synapses, electrical synapses and chemical synapses. Synaptical cleft is less in electrical synapses is ungap junction present, no neurotransmitters, ions flow, bidirectional, conduction faster and rare. Chemical synapses, synaptic cleft more, no gap junction, neurotransmitter present, unidirectional, conduction slow, most common. Conduction across a chemical synapses. Impulse arrive at axon terminal. First step is calcium, second step is calcium channels open in presynaptic, and third step is entry of calcium use fusion of synaptic vesicle with presynaptic exocytosis, release of neurotransmitter in synaptic cleft, binding with receptor. Next step is last fifth step is binding with receptors. Neurotransmitter is two type, inhibitory, exhibitory and inhibitory. Examples of exhibitory neurotransmitter: acetylcholine, epinephrine, norepinephrine. Inhibitory example of inhibitory neurotransmitter: dopamine, serotonin. Central nervous system. It is a central process unit. Brain is protected inside the cranium, which is called the brain box. Walnut like in brain, gray matter outside, that is a cell body, and white matter inside, that is a myelinated axon. Note that spinal cord has gray matter inside and white matter outside. All except here the spinal cord has only the gray matter inside and white matter outside, whereas others parts have the gray matter outside and white matter inside. Brain is divided into three parts: forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Forebrain contains cerebrum, olfactory lobe, hippocampus, amygdala, epithalamus, thalamus, and hypothalamus. We go first cerebrum. Before going to the cerebrum, let's continue with midbrain and hindbrain also. Midbrain has a four swelling on its dorsal surface known as the corpora quadrigemina. Two superior colliculi control visual reflex. Two inferior colliculi control auditory reflex. Hindbrain, cerebellum, pons, medulla. Cerebral aqueduct passes through midbrain. And note that in forebrain, epithalamus, thalamus, and hypothalamus, they together call diencephalon, or the part of diencephalon. Cranial meninges covering protective around the brain. It is divided into the parts. Cranium is the upmost outer layer which we can touch, and then durameter, it is the outermost tough fibrous layer, and there is the subdural space. And arachnoid, it is a web like, and some arachnoid has a cerebrospinal fluid. Then pyometer, it is the innermost inner contact with brain. And now we continue with forebrain first part, cerebrum. It is the most prominent part of brain. We have a two cerebral hemisphere connected via tract of nerve fibers known as corpus callosum. Cerebrum is folded, convoluted surface. Outer area of cerebral cortex, gray, has a different area. They have a sensory neurons, motor neurons, and association neurons. This is the large area responsible for the memory, communication, intrasensory function. Intrasensory function, that is neither early or sensory nor motor. Multiple sensory input analyze. And olfactory lobe, and then hippocampus and amygdala, they are together called the limbic system. Amygdala is an almond shape. It is responsible for anger and rage. Responsible for converting Hippocampus is responsible for converting short term memory into the long term memory. Limbic system plus hypothalamus is called emotional brain. Diencephalon. First part epithalamus enclose the pineal gland and above the thalamus relay center brain. Any information sensory or motor has passed through thalamus before reaching target cerebrum wrap around the thalamus. Third part is hypothalamus. It is the connection between the endocrine and neural system part. It is a part of emotional brain. Example pleasure, happiness, sadness, fear, motivational, etc. Various hormone control growth, reproduction, thirst, hunger. It is also called state center. Thermoregulation. Hindbrain, cerebellum. It is a little brain, two cerebellar hemisphere, gray matter white outside, white matter inside. Control involuntary activity, body balancing, second largest part of brain. In pons, it is a bridge. It has a neuron that interconnect different region of brain via neurons. It is a pneumometric pneumotic pneumotoric center. Medulla oblongata has a respiratory rhythmic center, has a center for heart rate, vomiting center, gastric center. It connects with spinal cord, brainstem, midbrain, pons plus medulla oblongata.